Today, a wake up call calls for stricter security after the incident at the White House Correspondents Dinner. Security can't be good enough, it has to be airtight. And on Saturday, it wasn't. Thanks for being here with us this morning. Good to see you all. I'm Vanessa Broussard. An armed man breaching security. He didn't get far, but he got close enough. Too close for comfort. We'll break it all down today with Jim Paff of the Conservative Caucus. Jim, so good to see you. The president has been a target too many times. Yes, the Secret Service acted quickly on Saturday, but how did he get that close in the first place? That's the question everyone wants to know. What's your take on the security issue from Saturday night?
Well, in my judgment, yes, security acted quickly and protected him, but the overall security situation is frankly very poor. Everyone I've talked to who was there, every thing that I've heard from others, what I know about the building itself, having been to dozens of events in that very ballroom, this was not a well secured event. And primarily because you see that the person who perpetrated this was never checked for anything in a hotel situation where the place that he can walk through to get toward this event venue is a very wide open space, and I hear no reports that there was any deep security there. And lastly, the security was right up against the ballroom itself. But this is a crazy situation, and it's a Secret Service failure, and the president can do what he wants. And I'm sure, in fact, I believe that the current Secret Service head is a nice person and has a good career. But this is the kind of failure that you get massive change with. I don't know how you can sustain that. The president will make that decision, but this just cannot happen. This is definitely one of the most targeted presidents in American history. And if we keep allowing this to happen, one of these times someone could very well be successful. We cannot sustain that in this country.
You're absolutely right. And we talked about, you just mentioned the head of Secret Service, that's Sean Corrin. He was with President Trump in Butler. He then named him as the top head of Secret Service. But you're right. Look, we went through it in Butler, same situation. The venue itself to get inside the perimeter, you had to go through mags. But this was at the farm, the Butler farm grounds. And so wide open space, trees, buildings. And so we saw the shooter, he didn't go through the gated area. He didn't have to. That's all wide open. So he climbed a building, a rooftop from just outside, and was able to shoot at the president. Thank God, as we all know, he turned his head in the nick of time. But how close was that? Jim,
Listen.
I went to.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, listen, this situation on Saturday was more well secured than Butler, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe the security that the Secret Service gave on Saturday was intentional. In other words, intentionally meant from intention to secure the president. I think Butler was. I mean, that was a setup. That was a more obvious security breach than this one. I mean, there were some very bad flub ups on Saturday, but that building in Butler was not in the least covered, and that is the most obvious place to cover anywhere on those grounds. And I suspect in my mind that there was malintention for that security breach. This one I don't think had malintention. It was just incredibly poorly considered.
And you mentioned President Trump, the most targeted president. He's the most powerful man in the world, the most targeted man in the world. And we do not have any room for any small inkling of any type of not paying attention. You look at this hotel. The hotel's wide open to the public, right? People are coming in and out. You would think that the hotel itself, Secret Service, local law enforcement, the feds would make sure that, hey, look, we need to make sure, let us have a list of everyone who's staying there for the weekend, and we need to go through all of the people. Did they do that? I'm not sure. There's also reports, Jim, that he came down the stairwell instead of the elevator. Anyone with a brain knows that when you are in a building, that if there's a fire or any type of emergency situation, what do you not take? You don't take the elevator, you take the stairwells. It's an exit, right? And so there's signs on every floor, use an exit in case the stairwell, in case of an emergency. Well, so that's what reports are saying that he did. And I'm just having a hard time believing that there was not any type of security at the doors of these stairwells, and then from the stairwell to the ballroom. So he had to travel a distance from the stairwell to the ballroom fully armed, and no one noticed.
Well, this is a very interesting venue to go to. If you've ever been to it, it's at the lowest level of anywhere on the hotel facility. The reason that he didn't take the elevator and took the stairwells is because, apparently at least, is because his plan was to take whatever he was carrying, his gun that he put together in, into rooms, and the level that he was on has other meeting rooms of a much smaller nature, and it was apparently in one of those rooms that he went into to assemble it, and then went charging through from there, trying to get to the stairs to get down into the venue. I think there are a couple elevators that do go down to the venue, but there's no way he could have gotten into the elevator with a gun that he had put together. So his plan was to, on the floor above the venue, to put it together and then to run down the stairs and try to get into the venue itself. And those elevators, the few that go down there, were covered. But that's a hard place to get down into. If anyone that's ever been there, there's an escalator that goes down there, and there are narrow stairs that go down there, and then a couple elevators. It's actually, it's always seemed to me like a fire marshal hazard if you're going to try to get 2,500 people out of there. But anyway, that was his only way to get there. He did have a plan, and it's one that should never have been possible if that place had been covered like it should have been. And
And
one other thing, when you have the president at an event, you have to close down the whole facility, in the sense that, I should say more accurately, the Secret Service has to take control of the whole facility. Like, you could run a hotel, I guess, but you've got to cordon off the hotel portion from any opportunity to get into the middle of the place. And I just think we're learning that this facility is just unmanageable for a Secret Service level event in the future.
for this magnitude, for the president, the vice president, the administration, everyone. What if something happened to the president? The vice president was sitting at the same table. You had the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, in the room, third in line to the president. And then you had all of the other administration there as well. So all of his successors were in the same room. Like, this is just insane to me. And I just don't know where we go from here, because how many times are we going to have to sit here, Jim, and say, what went wrong in Butler? What went wrong in Florida? How did this guy, how was he even able to set up this whole little area to shoot the president when he's playing golf? Luckily, a Secret Service agent noticed it before, that was too late. There he is right there. He's been sentenced and is in jail. And now we have what happened on Saturday night. How many times are we going to sit here and say, what went wrong? We should never have to be sitting here in this situation again, especially with this magnitude, with the entire administration in one room. We've got to do better. And security has to be tighter than at the ballroom door. These people still have to walk in and out. That entire block should have been secured, locked down, showing badges to get in, showing ID. People are saying that we're there. I'm sure you've talked to a lot of the same people, that they just flashed their ticket and walked right on in. They just glanced at it and said, okay, you're good. I mean, this isn't, there's some loopholes that they need to figure out. And I don't know if it's at the top. I don't know if it's the guys and women on the ground, but somewhere in the Secret Service agency, there is a lack of planning, of paying attention, because we can't just keep having this with President Trump. He's a sitting duck.
Well, I wouldn't say that this particular event was a DEI problem, but DEI culture also feeds into this. In other words, we have changed the way that we perceive people's effort, as whether you succeeded or not, whether you accomplished or not, to how do you feel about it? Do you deserve something because of the color of your skin or your gender or whatever? Like, we've taken the whole thing of you either succeeded or you didn't. The binary is gone. And that attitude, and I'm sure there are a lot of great Secret Service agents, so I don't want to put them all down. But we
Absolutely.
do have a culture where some people can accept second best. And you cannot do that with the Secret Service. But I'll tell you, even more importantly, there are a lot of events that the only person in the line of succession is the president himself. And that's obviously extremely important all by itself. But when you've got an event where everybody but one, the Senate pro tem, in the line of succession, were sitting in the same room, that steps it up a huge part. You remember that television series Designated Survivor? I mean, what was that about? You had an entire cabinet and everybody in succession except for the designated survivor. And maybe the Senate pro tem was the designated survivor that night. I don't know that for sure. I haven't heard about it. But the designated survivor would be in a very secure location just in case something bad happened, and then something bad happened. This was almost that kind of event because this guy was saying that he wasn't just going to go after the president. He was going after the entire cabinet. It blows my mind as you think about it more and more that we allowed it to get to this position. But it also blows my mind that how is it that we're in a day and age where one of the most vaunted security services in all of human history, the Secret Service, which has in the past been quite perfect. I mean, how did they let this one get this bad? I'm just astounded. The Reagan shooting, which was at the same location, was a Secret Service failure. There's no doubt about it. But the magnitude of the problem then was even less than this one, not just because it's Donald Trump, but because you had almost everybody in the line of succession there. This is a huge, huge loss. Someone's head has to roll, and it's got to be replaced with someone who will absolutely have an anal retentive attitude towards what we do to secure this president, because how do you avert three major disasters? And in fact, I think there are a total of about 6 or 7 known attempts on the president's life, or at least known designed ones. And every president has some threat against them. But this is pretty profound. You have to go all the way back to Gerald Ford to have multiple actual attempts that took place. So this is a serious issue. We better fix it quick.
Very quick, because like you said earlier, we may not have a successful outcome. Unfortunately, that's just the way we have to think because there's too many crazies out there. But the irony of where it happened too, and who was in the room outside of the administration. The media, the press, the people who for a decade now have called him Hitler, who have, run him down, found fault with anything. He's a fascist, he's this, he's that. And they're brainwashing these liberals to believe that Trump is, a king. Let's have no kings protest. I mean, they're just they're fueling the fire. And so they're sitting in the room during all of this. And I want to show our viewers this. This is from Jimmy Kimmel, who disgusts me, by the way. Jimmy Kimmel said this just the night before. The night before on his show. Take a look at what he had to say.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Not funny at all. And then so Melania comes out yesterday and she makes a statement about it. Very rare for the First Lady to come out and say something about this. This was not funny. Then the President of the United States comes out defending her, attacking Jimmy Kimmel, telling ABC and Disney, fire him. He's got to go. This isn't the first time we've had this encounter with Jimmy Kimmel. He is making it seem like it's okay. Go out and murder the president. Let her be a glowing widow. But Jimmy Kimmel comes back out last night with another joke. He didn't back down. He didn't apologize. He didn't say, okay, maybe I was out of line. No, Jim, he comes out and says, I wasn't talking about murder. I was talking about their age difference. Come on. Who believes that? I don't.
But there's no reason to believe it. Actually, it's a pattern with Jimmy Kimmel. He did the very same thing with the Charlie Kirk thing. He was applauding the death of Charlie Kirk, and then he came out to give his apology with the, oh, no, that's not what I meant at all. It's just comedy. Don't you get it? It's just comedy. It's not comedy. There's a lot of funny comedy that pushes the edge, pushes the envelope, that doesn't go that far. Jim Gaffigan, I was thinking about this with him. Jim Gaffigan, who's a hilarious comedian who truly dislikes Donald Trump and is of the left. I can't even imagine Jim Gaffigan being so stupid as to make such a joke like that. I can think of a lot of comedians who wouldn't. Of course, there are others who would, but Jimmy Kimmel does need to be taken off the air. I don't want to take away his First Amendment rights. He's welcome to go try to build a following on social media all he wants. Roll up a podcast. You've got a little bit of a reputation, but no one even cares a little bit about what Jimmy Kimmel says, except the people who are amongst the myriad of small videos that I've seen in the last couple of days of people saying, dang it, they missed him again. I mean, this attitude
They're
exists
sick.
in our country. It is it's a dangerous attitude. It's held by leftists almost solely, except for the Lincoln Project so-called Republican guys. I mean, you do have the TDS Republican wing, but that's much smaller than this group of leftists that act violent in every way. Like in every way, the left is violent. You will get crude and crass things said on the right from time to time. That's generally a human problem. You are not getting violent the way that you do. And don't bring up January 6th, because January 6th it has a lot of problems to it. And no one ever points out the fact that there were literally tens of thousands of people there who weren't even close to doing anything that was bad. They were patriotically and peacefully protesting. Democrats don't patriotically and peacefully protest. They buy violence. They spend millions of dollars to roll up violence whenever they need or feel they need to make a political point. Jimmy Kimmel's statement related to Melania Trump was about assassination. He can lie about it all he wants. We know what he meant by it. And it was intentionally from his heart. He can tell us all day long he meant something different. He's just being a politician. And he's as bad or worse than any of them. In fact, worse in my opinion.
Absolutely, he is. Disney, ABC. Now it's time. If there's any time, now is the time to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel, but they won't. That's how big corporations are. They feed this as well. And so it just goes down the line and into the homes of the American people and into the crazies who want people like Jimmy Kimmel. But as we start to wrap up here, Jim, I also want to say, Saturday night when President Trump went to the press briefing room, and as he walked out after addressing the nation and also the press, I hear the press saying, glad you're okay, glad you're okay. No, they're not. Are they? Probably not, because they fuel this as well. They are constantly calling him names, constantly finding fault with him, constantly putting out all of this stuff for years since he came down the golden escalators. And then now we have yet another assassination attempt, failed, praise the Lord. And they're going to say, glad you're okay. Really? Because you're going to get on air tomorrow and find fault with every single thing he does and call him a king and call him a fascist and call him racist and all the things that you do. So save your I'm glad you're okay for a rainy day, because they're not glad he's okay.
Well, I will say in the moment, I think everyone was shocked, and there might have been a broader sentiment at that moment
of heart from them.
That everyone was worried about what might have happened because they were all exposed to it. But what we have seen, sadly, since 9/11, like 9/11 should have been and initially was one of the most unifying things that we had seen in our country up to that point, except that the Maoist Communist Democrat Party is out to overthrow the American Republic. They're working on it every single day. Their desire is to take out the liberty that we were granted, that our founding fathers fought for, and that they were willing to give this limited form of government that allows the people to live their lives rather than the government living their lives. They want to live people's lives because the only way that their ideology can succeed is when they can utilize the power of the sword of government. The definition of government is legal force. And the reason the founding fathers wanted to restrain it so much is because they understood that principle, and they needed that force, that legal force, to be used only for what it was meant to be used for, against criminal behavior, and particularly violent criminal behavior, and against other countries against whom we would need to defend ourselves. And that was the extent of the sword, roughly, that the founding fathers felt was important. So, but we're not in that place right now with Democrats. We have far too many Republicans that allow that to get haywire. But the Democrat Party is a violent party. It is a Maoist communist party. It is not an American party. And the Democrat media, which is the vast majority of media, are their mouthpieces. They are their propaganda machine. And they hate Donald Trump because they have the same insanity that Democrats have. And we're going to be fighting this for some time. And we need to take courage ourselves to stay in that battle, to pray for our country, and to determine that we'll do the things that we're required to do as citizens, to act as citizens, and to promote good.
You're absolutely right. The fight continues, and we'll continue to pray for the president. I know he has some public events at the end of this week as well. And so it's just, one of those things where I wish he would stay home, but he's not going to. And so that's his personality, Jim. He's not going to let this stop him.
That's
and
true.
That's why we love him. So good to have you on the show today, Jim. Thanks for stopping by, as always.
Great to see you, Vanessa, as always.